about the speaking section, but later I switch to the writing section, that means I'm presenting you a new idea. So your job is not to keep repeating the same content over and over and over, because you'll not be getting extra marks that go towards your reading section. Your job is to catch all the different fine points and the new ideas in the text. So that's one of the things that we cover in the class. So welcome back if you've been watching this playlist. If not, you need to go back, you need to watch the speaking video right now if you want to get 90. So if you're watching the writing section, this is the one that people tend to be scared the most about. And those are usually the people that took IELTS before. So I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is writing is by far the easiest section in PTE. The bad news is it's the most boring one, and unfortunately there's one or two things you need to memorize. So let's get from the beginning. The first question in writing section is going to be your summarized written text. You have to read the passage, and you've got 10 minutes to basically read it and understand it and write a summary. And the second question is going to be your essay, which you can see over here. They ask you a question at the top, which is 3 or 4 lines usually, and you have to basically write within 20 minutes a 200 to 300 word essay. So this is fairly straightforward. There's nothing technical there. Now, let's go from the beginning. A lot of people don't know this, but the summarized written text portion of your writing section actually gives you marks in your reading as well. Whenever somebody comes to us because they're failing reading, we don't fix their reading. We don't give them the materials. We don't explain to them FIBs or reorder paragraphs. The first thing we start with is this. The reason why, because this one gives you a lot of marks in your reading section. And what people used to get away with before is not as good anymore. There's always exceptions, and I'm sure you guys will see some YouTube videos where somebody uses a very simple strategy in summarized written text, and they're still scoring 79 plus in their reading. What you may not know is that that person has done those questions before, so they're doing almost perfectly in their reading section itself. Meaning they're getting full marks in reading, and they're not getting full marks in their writing summaries, but it's still good enough to score 79 plus. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people with an average level of English. Your vocabulary is not that strong, your grammar is not that strong, but you do need to get 65 plus or 79 plus. So look, if you're one of those people, you need to make sure you're getting full score in your summarized written text to contribute towards your reading section. So one of the strategies that was quite common, that was floating around YouTube videos, PTE WhatsApp groups, and Telegram groups and Facebook groups is basically this. Pick the first sentence, pick the last sentence, put the word "and" in between, and put a full stop at the end. So this used to work great before, because before the reading section itself was fairly simple. Nowadays, they added a lot of new questions in your reading. So if you're already a little bit weaker in that section, it's going to be really hard. So first of all, they introduced 2 different types of summaries. The first one where it's related to person, first person, second person. It's talking about an individual particularly, and they keep repeating their name continuously. They keep talking about them nonstop. So obviously, in that case, you need to talk about the person specifically. Now, there's other types of summaries where they mention many different people, or they don't talk about any people at all. They talk about something that happened. Then your job is to describe the events, to mention the important aspects of the events. Unfortunately, guessing 2 random sentences and connecting with the word "and" won't get you full marks. So the word count is going to vary from text to text. The kind of sentences you include is going to vary from text to text. So long story short, I wish I can give you a magic wand and tell you you should always write 68 words on the dot. You should always pick the first, the third, and the 5th sentence. And this is not the reality. But there are a few things that can help you out. For example, usually your topic of the passage is going to be in the first 2 or 3 sentences. Obviously, your conclusion is going to be in the last 2 or 3 sentences. But in the body, you cannot just skip the body of the text. There's always at least 2 or 3 important key points you have to pick. So a good giveaway, and it doesn't work all the time, it depends text to text, but a good giveaway is typically if you see words like "but," words like "yet," words like "however," or words like "in contrast." Usually whatever comes after that specific phrase or that specific word, it's probably pretty important. Because what happens if I'm talking about the speaking section, but later I switch to the writing section, that means I'm presenting you a new idea. So your job is not to keep repeating the same content over and over and over, because you'll not be getting extra marks that go towards your reading section. Your job is to catch all the different fine points and the new ideas in the text. So that's one of the things that we cover in the class. As for the essay, the same things still work. We still ask students to memorize a format. The reason why, because formats just save you a lot of time. It's just a basic structure that maybe has 150, 200 words, and you need to fill out the remaining 50, 60, 100 words by yourself. Now, the reason why that's helpful, because some people are not very fast at typing. So if you're already slow at typing, it's very difficult to come up with 300 words on the spot like this, especially if the topic is unfamiliar. Second reason why is because usually the formats, the templates, we fill with a lot of academic vocabulary they're looking for. Meaning if you use simple words, they will not give you as many marks towards your writing section. So there are specific phrases, specific expressions, specific things, specific examples they want you to use in your essay. But if you have no idea how the PTE structure works, obviously you're trying to write an essay from scratch, it's way harder. The only warning is, if you are using an essay format, you need to make sure it's recent, or it's one of the newer ones, or it's been updated, or maybe that you modify it a little bit. Because in the past, it's actually quite funny. The other day I had a student, she came over to me and she said, Alex, I already have an essay format memorized. Can I use my old template? And I said, let me have a look. If it's good, you can use it. If not, please don't use it, memorize ours. So I had to look at her essay template, and this is the essay template that we made 4 years ago. And we stopped teaching that one a long time ago, because once many people give the exam with the same format, it's just like in your university. Whenever you submit your thesis, they compare it to their database to see if you're plagiarizing. So point being, with a new format, you can get away with it. But if you're using formats that you downloaded from a WhatsApp group, you need to make sure you either change it or you're aware if it's a new format or an old format. Because that's something we do every single day. I've seen every format, one of the most conspicuous concerns, or at the outset, or like I've seen every single format imaginable. 5 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs. So you need to know which one you're using. I do recommend making your own format, or maybe getting a format from an institute, but make sure your cousin 3 years ago didn't use the same one. That's it for the writing section. It's super easy. If you panicked about your writing, or you're failing your writing and you don't know why, chances are it's not because of the writing section. It's probably because of the last video in this playlist, which is going to be the listening section. So stay tuned. You're about to see the reading section, and just click next.